Jose through our service this morning. He's been asked to preach through the Palm Beach Baptist Network at a church in Boca Raton this morning in a Spanish ministry down there. So be with him. Be praying for him as we are also studying the Word here today. The title of my lesson is Hidden in Plain Sight. Now, I don't have a verse there at the top like I normally do because we're going to be hitting several different verses this week, and they should be a part of your outline. If not, just put on your seatbelt and hang on because it's going to be a fun ride. When I was younger, I liked to play word games and other type of mental puzzles. I guess you could say I was a nerd when I was younger. One of the puzzle games I enjoyed playing were these picture games, and I'm sure you've seen them. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You have these pictures, and they're in two panels. And you have the left panel, you got everything there, and then you see the right panel, and you're supposed to find what's different, what's missing. And the more skilled you get at these games, the more objects are missing from these games. And the more objects that you're missing, the more smaller and more finite and definite these articles are missing. So there's nothing more frustrating for me, and I hope I'm not the only one in the room that has dealt with this. Even if not, please, somebody would just say, yeah, I'm right there with you, Pastor. Nothing more frustrating than going through these, and you find one or two right off the bat, right? Maybe 3 or 4 right off the bat. You feel like you're doing well, and then all of a sudden, you can't find that last one. No matter if it's 5 or 10 or 15, you can't find that last one, and you look, and you look, and you look, and you're about ready to throw the book out the window, and there it is, in plain sight. The most obvious one is the one that we usually overlook. And that's the point of my message this morning, is to understand the things that we are missing in our lives are usually the things that are right there in front of us to begin with. And as we focus this morning on preparing for battle, for preparing for struggle, for preparing for difficulty, I want us to understand that the help that we need in preparation and the tools that we need to overcome these battles, these difficulties, these struggles, the equipment, the things that we need to move on is right here in plain sight. We describe the struggle differently. We're in different types of struggle, different levels of struggle. Sometimes this struggle that we're in is a pit. You ever feel like that? You feel like you're in this bottom of a pit and it's dark and the walls are closing in around you and there seems to be no way of escape. Sometimes this battle feels like we're in the heat of the moment. And in the heat of the moment, things come at us quickly and fast, and we don't know how to respond. We don't know how to do what we need to do. We just seem like we're overwhelmed in this battle, and we just can't seem to win. So the first word of advice that I want to give you this morning is the same word of advice that I give my senior Bible class. It's important to draw the line in the sand before you get into battle. It's important to prepare for battle before the battle comes. It's important to prepare for the struggle before the struggle hits. Living in Florida, we understand this. We put the shutters on the windows before the hurricanes hit. We're not going out in the middle of the wind and the rain to put the shutters on the window. Even though if you live in Florida long enough, you probably have done that at least once or twice in your life. It's not fun, is it? So in spiritual format, we understand that we need to be prepared before the winds start to blow. Now, I don't know what you're going through this morning, and I hope that none of you are going through a difficult time. Because if you're not going through a difficult time, now's the time to hear the message for you this morning. But if you are going through difficulty, don't tune out. Don't say this message isn't for me, because this message is for you. There's various types of struggle. We deal with loss of job, painful divorce, loss of health, loss of a loved one, loss of a dream or a desire. With all these things come a sense of grief. With all of these things come a sense of hopelessness, a sense of feeling weak and overwhelmed. How do we handle it? How do we move on? Well, I want to charge you this morning to look at these things through the eyes of a lion. That is the thread of thought that will encompass not only this week's service, but the next 2 or 3 weeks as well, as we understand looking through the eyes of a lion gives us the courage, the boldness, the strength that we need to move forward. We feel weak in the time of struggle, but in reality, we have a never-ending supply of power. We see but do not comprehend because we do not know what we're looking at. The answer is in plain sight. And I want to thank Levi Lesko in a book that he has written called Through the Eyes of a Lion that has inspired, has given me thoughts on these messages that we'll be looking at the next couple weeks. So let us begin with our first verse. And you see point number 1 there in your bulletin. Looks can be deceiving. So turn in your Bibles, if you will, to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Looks can be deceiving. So consider this morning the adult version of the sword drill. You guys remember sword drills when you were younger? So we're going to be looking for scripture all over the New Testament. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. Looks can be deceiving. We've heard that phrase in many forms before, right? Looks can be deceiving. Don't judge a book by its cover. So we understand that the outside, the periphery, the things that we're encountered with aren't always all there is to the story. 2 Corinthians 4:18 says, while we do not look at things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. See, we get caught up in all of this that's around us, the stuff that we can see, the stuff that we can touch, the stuff that we can smell, the stuff that we can feel. We get caught up in all of this, and we think that that is all there is. In reality, that's only a small part of the complete story. There's so much more going on. If we depended only on what we could see, we'd be missing a lot of information. My dad used to work for a uniform company, and he used to tell this story. This is a pretty cool story. His round area would be around Lake Okeechobee. So a lot of farmers, sugar farmers, and dairy farmers, and whatever else they could grow and farm. That was his clientele. And one of his clients was a car dealership out in the Glades area. It was telling the story of this man. This farmer would come into this dealership, sweaty old cowboy hat, old raggedy shirt, sweat-stained shirt, jeans, cowboy boots. And he'd come up to this salesman, this young salesman, says, I want a Cadillac with all the whistles, all the bells, all the extras. I want that Cadillac. The salesman did. Salesman problem number 1. Failure number 1. He looked at the guy and said, you can't afford it. True story. So what does the guy do? He leaves and goes to another dealership. He goes into another dealership dressed the same exact way, and he tells the salesman there, I want to buy a Cadillac and I want everything on it. This salesman, though, doesn't turn him away. He takes him out of the lot and shows him a Cadillac, everything that he's expecting, the right color, the leather interior, the whole 9 yards. The cowboy goes back into the dealership, pulls off his boot, dumps out the cash, and pays for the cash. The Cadillac in cash right there on the spot. Not missing anything in my pocket. Everything's right there. So what does the guy do? This old cowboy gets behind the wheel of this brand new shiny Cadillac and drives over to the other dealership and says, don't ever tell me what I can't do. We do that, don't we? We do that not just to each other. We look at each other and say, you can't do that because you're limited. You can't do that because you don't have the education. You can't do that because you don't have the skill set. The problem is we do the same thing to God. We get into the struggle, we get into the mess, we get into the soup, we get into the fire, whatever cliche you want to use there, and we look at God and say, you can't get me out. What are you going to do about it? And that's what we have to understand with this first point, that looks can be deceiving. Imagine what Daniel and his friends would have said. with his friends in the middle of the fiery furnace and Daniel in the middle of the lion's den. Imagine what they would have said if they got in this place. Okay, God, what are you going to do now? But the reason why we miss things that are in plain sight is because we have a blind spot. We have a blind spot, and ironically, physically, biologically, our blind spot that every one of us in this room has, we have a blind spot. It's where that optical nerve connects to the retina. How ironic that is. The nerve that is supposed to help us see creates blindness in each and every one. But we don't have just this physical blind spot, we have an emotional blind spot. We get connected to people, we get connected to situations too closely, and we begin to think, oh, they won't hurt us. They won't bring harm. They're looking out for my well-being just like I am. And unfortunately, sometimes, many times, the opposite is just the truth, isn't it? But we have a spiritual blind spot as well. The spiritual blind spot entered into our lives in the Garden of Eden. If you want to continue on this journey, flip back to Genesis with me, Genesis chapter 3, and we'll be there in just a moment. We have this spiritual blind spot that is the result of sin entering the world. See, if sin never entered the world, we'd all be experiencing the goodness, the perfection that God created within the Garden of Eden. That would still be our life. Wouldn't that be fun? Go back with me in your mind to Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. We see the story of creation. And God said, and it happened. He said, let there be light, and light. Let there be birds, and birds flew in the air. Let there be fish in the sea, there they are. And he spoke all of these things into existence, and what did he say at the end of each day? It was good. But then he comes to man. And if you notice in Genesis chapter 1, he doesn't create man by speaking man into existence. I vision it this way, and I'm sorry if this might be offensive to some, but I vision God getting down on his knees and using his hands and form the body of Adam very intimately, very connectedly on what he wanted Adam to look like. He dare I say, he poured his heart and soul into that creation. And they blew the breath of life in the nostrils of Adam, and Adam. And God didn't say it was good. What did God say? It was very good. See, mankind, we are the crown prince, the crown jewel of all creation. God took extra care to create us. And then we get to Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. We see that the serpent is the most cunning, most crafty, most deceitful of all creatures, right? Because what happens at the end of chapter 2, Adam and Eve are given their privileged position in the garden. God says, all of this is yours. How fun that would be again, right? And God said, you can do whatever you want. You can eat from any tree in the garden except that one over there. That one is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That is not for you. But you don't need it anyway. Could you imagine this conversation with God? You don't need that tree anyway, because look around you. You've got all this other stuff. Then the serpent comes on the scene in verse 1, and then we scroll down to verse 4, and the serpent says to the woman, you will not surely die. Here's where it's important to know the word of God. You will not surely die. He goes on to say, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, that tree, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. See, Eve had a spiritual blind spot. She heard God. She heard God say you can eat anything in the garden except for that one. But she didn't fully grasp everything that God was saying. And then when the serpent came in and twisted and left detail out, Eve was easily deceived. Now, it's not all Eve's fault. Yeah. Because if you continue to read Genesis chapter 3, Eve takes a bite and she turns and gives the fruit to Adam, which indicates that Adam was there the whole time. And if Adam was doing what Adam should have been doing as the head of the house, the husband, he should have knocked the fruit out of Eve's hand in the first place. Can I be bluntly honest? So we see the spiritual blind spot. See, what had gone from perfection, the opportunity to be with God in all situations of our life, Adam went from walking with God to hiding from God. He went from being in close fellowship with God. He went from being able to sit face to face across the dinner table and share a meal with God from going into a broken relationship. How true that is in our life. How true that is in our life. We go from walking with God and thinking things are good. We may even say things are very good. And then struggle and difficulty come in, and we turn our back on God, and we begin to hide from God. We understand what's going on here in Genesis chapter 3. And let me just throw this out here. Instead of pursuing deep, personal, intimate relationship, mankind has been superficial ever since. Instead of seeking things that matter, instead of seeking things that build us up and edify us, we're looking to see how many likes we can get on social media. And instead of digging deep and understanding what God is all about and understanding who God is for us, instead of putting forth the effort and understanding what it means to be a Christ follower, we become superficial. We seek relationships that last only a short while. We seek acceptance. Again, how many thumbs up we can get on that social media post. How many friends that we can get at school. Oh, you look so cute this morning. How many co-workers at work that can pat us on the back and say, man, you're doing a great job. Knock it out of the park. We look for that instead of looking for the one that will give us eternal acceptance. We've exchanged the gold that God offers us for the fool's gold that we get out of the vending machine for 25 cents. When we look at things in front of us, when we look at things that only those things that we can see, we're spiritually blind to everything else. Which brings me to point number 2. You see it there in your outline. Eternity is visible through faith. See, there's a cure for the spiritual blindness that we have. This cure is a 5-letter word that begins with the letter F, and it is faith. The only way that we can get past looking at the things that are right here in front of us and see the things that are around it is by strengthening and encouraging and walking and edifying our faith. It is through faith. It is the lens through which we look at it that begins to clear up our vision. The blurry lines on the side, the blurry lines in the background, all of those tend to go away and become more clearer and more crisp. You've seen these old pictures that have faded over time, and you see the focus of that picture right in the middle and how blurring and fading on the sides. Well, imagine that being your spiritual vision without the faith that is strong. We need to get to the point where those blurry visions, those blurry lines go away. And the verse that goes along with this point, 2 Corinthians 5:7, many of you know it, if not all of you in the room, for we walk by faith and not by sight. To be bluntly honest this morning, if we walked by sight and sight alone, we would be in trouble. If we walked by only what we could see, we would be in trouble. Relationships would be on shaky ground. And our faith, if we had any, would never grow. It'd be like that seed cast on the rocky ground that shot up quickly and faded away when the sun came out. Walking by faith is what gives us the boldness to look at the world through the eyes of a lion. Faith becomes the framework which we understand life. Stop letting other people dictate to you how to define your life. You guys missed it. Stop letting other people dictate to you how to define your life. There's only one way that your life should be defined, and that is through the Word of God. Because the Word of God defines your relationship with God, and He, and only He, is the one that gives you meaning to your life. Faith becomes the framework which we understand life. See, through faith, when we see pain, no matter how bad it is, it's not without a purpose. In every life, the little rain goes down. And you also remember that you have to walk through pain, but you never walk through pain alone, because God is always there. I will never leave you nor forsake you, He says. When you see your problems, when you see your difficulties, when you see your struggles, you remember that God has a plan. Walking by faith does not mean you're in denial of your situation. It reminds you that God's got you. No matter what you're facing, no matter what you think has got you on the outside, no matter what part of the world you think has got you hemmed in and cuffed up, no matter what you're going through, God has you in the palm of His hand. And I'll tell you this, and I told you this before. His grip on your life is much, much stronger than anything else that might take a grip on your life. Faith reminds us that the God that Adam used to walk with, the God that Adam used to talk with, is the same God that is walking right beside you now. See what Satan tried to destroy in the Garden of Eden? What Satan tried to remove from the picture? Faith allows it to come back into the picture. God did not stop being the God of Adam. Remember, Adam was the one that walked away, not God. When Adam ate the fruit and sin entered the world, God provided mercy, not abandonment. God is faithful and never will leave you. But the problem is a problem of our vision. Here we are again. Our vision. We're nearsightedness, and that's a problem. We only see what's right here in front of us. And if you're nearsighted, you understand what I mean. All of this right here is very clear, isn't it? The stuff back there becomes blurry and out of focus. So if you're nearsighted, what do? You go to the doctor and you get a pair of glasses, and the glasses help correct the problem. It's the lens that we choose to put on that helps us to see more clearly. See, spiritually, if you're nearsighted, you need to correct it by strengthening your faith. And why do I say seeing through the eyes of the lion? Because the lion can see at great distance very, very clearly. The lion could be sitting out in the Serengeti looking for food and looking right here in the front and see nothing, but way off in the distance, way over there, he sees the herd of impala coming his direction. And what does he say? Buffet. See, the same thing with us. If we had the eyes of a lion, we see the struggle right here, but way off in the distance, we can see what God is doing, and we see victory. So how do we correct this spiritual nearsightedness? Point number 3. We need to check our vision. See, it's recommended that we check our vision constantly. Right? We go to the eye doctor once a year. I hope you go to the eye doctor once a year. And if you have poor sight, you go more frequently. And as you see that I'm up here wearing my glasses, you'll see that I wear glasses to read. Well then, Pastor Mike, why are you wearing them all the time? Because I get tired of taking them off and on all the time. So I've got the lenses in there so I can keep them on and see you clearly and look down and see what I'm reading clearly. And ask Becky, she'll attest to this, never get me to read anything without my glasses because I won't be able to. I would not trust myself to read text without my glasses and sign something or respond to it because I would respond to something that was never in the text to begin with. It was funny, we were out shopping yesterday and Tori wanted to show me something. We got out of the car, taking stuff out of the car, and she comes up with her phone to show me. There's no way you don't have your glasses. I'll wait till we get inside. So they know. You correct your vision. You check your vision. So how do we check our spiritual vision? one more stop on our Bible adventure this morning, turn to the book of Romans. Turn to the book of Romans. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans. And this might be something that blows your mind. How do we check our vision? We don't go to an eye doctor and get glasses. We don't get dilation drops. We don't eat more carrots. We don't do any of that to check our spiritual vision. What do we do to check our spiritual vision? We correct it through our ears. You heard me. Our spiritual vision is corrected through our ears. Romans 10:17. So then faith comes from hearing, and hearing from the Word of God. So if you want to see better, you need to learn to listen. If you want to see better, you want to see clearly, you want to see crisper, you want to see what God is doing, then you need to learn to listen. Faith comes through hearing. Faith comes from hearing it in a corporate study like this, where it's being preached. Hearing comes in a corporate Bible study, small group, Sunday school, youth group, where you are reading and talking about what Scripture says. Hearing comes in those small, private times that you spend reading the Word, and the Holy Spirit is working in your life to reveal you, to guide you through the Word. That is where your faith is strengthened, and as your faith is strengthened, your vision becomes much, much clearer. We understand what that looks like physically. I can't see, so I wear glasses. And those that need to wear glasses to drive cars, I hope they would always wear their glasses to not endanger other people. But see, spiritually speaking, we have the glasses of faith on our face, and then we take them off. We get into a situation, and instead of making sure the glasses are securely in place, we remove them. Does that make sense to you? That's what we do. And we need to understand that this lens that we're looking at the world through is very important. It is a choice. I can wear my glasses and read the text and sound educated, or I can try to stumble through without my glasses and make a fool out of myself. Spiritually, we can go through life looking at life through the lens of faith, where things are in clear focus and understandable, and we can have a sureness of our step. Or we can go through life without the lens of faith, and we are tossed to and fro, here and there, and not fully ever growing the roots that we need to do what we need to do. The choice is yours. And it is a choice that only you can make. When we walk by sight alone, we're limited. When we walk by sight alone, the boundaries are obvious, and we do not move outside the boundaries for the fear of the unknown. We're paralyzed. This fear disables us. The pain of the struggle becomes too real, and we get into a position that's comfortable here. I'm not feeling any pain here. I'm going to stay here. And you never learn anything that you're supposed to learn. The difficulty, the battle overwhelms us, and instead of going out and claiming the victory that we're supposed to have, we hang back. And we're repeatedly defeated, repeatedly knocked down, and we begin to cry out, God, what's going on here? Why can't I get any traction? And the answer is simple, because we continue to look at things through the naked eye. Looking at things through the naked eye, here's your alliteration lesson for the day. Looking through life through the naked eye will bring defeat, discouragement, and destruction, doubt. Looking at life through the naked eye does no good for anybody. But when we begin to look at life through the vision, through the lens of faith, that doubt becomes hope. That destruction becomes victory, and that discouragement becomes encouragement. What the world intends to bring you down with, God intends to make you stronger with. Faith helps us to see the invisible in preparation for doing the impossible. talking about social media, that one too. Faith helps us to see the invisible in preparation of doing the impossible. Turn to Hebrews chapter 11 with me. This is our verse of the morning. This morning, Hebrews chapter 11. And I want you to make note of two verses. I want you to take your pen. I want you to underline these in your Bible. I want you to highlight them. If you're looking at your Bible through your phone, through your YouVersion app, go down to the bottom and hold that verse, and the colors will come up, and press the color. Highlight these two verses because it's important for you to hear these two verses. Hebrews chapter 11, as we read at the beginning, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And then beginning in verse 4, we see evidence of faith in individual lives. We see how Abel offered an offering more excellent than Cain. We see faith in Enoch was taken away. We see by faith Noah built the ark. By faith Abraham obeyed. By faith Sarah received. By faith all of these individuals did. And they received the glory of God. And it was accounted to them righteousness. And we go on to the prophets and Moses, etc., etc. And it's important that you understand all of that background to get to verse 33. And it says this, it is those through faith, get this, it's important. It is those through faith, it is you through faith that you'll be able to do what? Subdue kingdoms, work righteousness, obtain promises, stop the mouths of the lions, escape the edge of the sword, quench the violence of fire, out of weakness be made strong, be valiant for a time of battle. See, it is through faith that gets you what you need when you need it. And if you're living a life through sight and sight alone, you're missing the point. It is faith that is hidden in plain sight, if we just look. But Pastor, I can't stand up. I'm too weak. Begin standing and your strength will grow. But Pastor, I keep getting defeated. I don't know how to fight. Keep fighting. Victory will come. But Pastor, you don't understand. The ground below me keeps shifting, and I'm not strong enough to stand it. Keep standing, and the ground will become solid. That's faith. You want to look through life through the eyes of a lion? Strengthen your faith. The Lion of Judah. He's the one that will give you the faith that you need. Faith taps into your power from on high, brings peace that passes all understanding, and joy unspeakable. It is through faith in your most difficult moments. Get this. It is faith in your most difficult moments that you will realize that you are not alone. See what causes defeat? What causes our faith to whimper? What causes us to doubt? What causes us to be discouraged? What causes us to be defeated? It is this idea that we're going through this by ourselves. And there's nothing more contrary to the truth than to understand that everything that you go through, hear me, church, everything that you go through, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter how overwhelming, no matter how easy, no matter what it is, no matter the time of day, no matter the time of night, everything that you go through, you are not alone. God is there with you. The very next step that you're going to take, He's already there waiting for you. And that's what a body does. That's what a family does. Look around you this morning. Everything that you go through, invite us to go in it with you, and we will encourage you. We will strengthen you. We will carry you. We will pray for you, because that's what family does. In conclusion this morning, if you continue to read the book of Hebrews, verse 1 in chapter 12, it says, therefore we also, since we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. See, those that have died in the faith before us know exactly what you're going through. Look to them. No, we're not praying to them. That's not what I mean. Look to them and their example on how they overcame. And then you'll be able to overcome. This whole chapter, verse 11, chapter 11, this hall of fame of faith, we call it. They responded in faith. And because they responded in faith, God brought them victory. Now, the only way that you can run this race that is set before you is to have faith. Because what faith does is it helps you not see the difficulty of the race. It helps you to see the finish line. And why do we race? Because there's a finish line. You know, some of you will go home this afternoon and flip on the TV and watch the NASCAR race. And why do all 32 of those drivers get out there and turn left for 3 hours? It's not because it's fun. It's not because there's nothing better to do for 3 hours. They do it because there's a finish line. And the first one across the finish line gets the prize. The same is true spiritually. Now, we're not in competition to be first. We're just in competition to finish. Because everybody gets the prize who finishes. Stand on your faith. So what are your takeaway points for today? I have 4 takeaway points for today. Seeing the invisible, you can do the impossible. Nearsightedness, number 2, nearsightedness can be corrected. Number 3, eternity becomes more visible through our faith. And number 4, looks can be deceiving. In other words, we must look through the proper lens. Through Jesus, the Lion of Judah, our eyes can be opened. He redeemed what was lost in the Garden of Eden through his life, through his death, through his resurrection. You are not alone. Jesus is always with you. And he loves you more than you can ever imagine. Stand to your feet this afternoon as we come to the end of our time together.